has been stepped upon. They lack freedom, and most importantly, their government has been corrupt, and they have stolen the wealth of the country for very, very few. So redistributing a small amount of money, like we call it, crumbs to the populace, I don't think is going to work. It may delay here and there. Of course, each individual country differ slightly from each other, but I don't think in the long run it's going to work. It's too little, too late.
So are these rulers in the end who are making these concessions, if you like, are they being naive?
No, they're not being naive. That's what they are used to. It's the old style, throwing money into the populace and hoping that they will mollify them. It may mollify some segment of society, but in the long run, as I said, will not work. Remember, most of these people who are demonstrating, starting, they were the young, and they really yearn for freedom. A lot of them have experienced freedom through their travel and association by other cultures, and they no longer are satisfied by merely accepting a small amount of money to ameliorate their conditions.
Let's see what Sharif Al-Musa thinks here in Doha, see if you agree, Sharif, with what the other two panelists have said.
I think what we are talking about is you have many problems in the Arab world: political, economic, cultural, educational, health systems. Basically, the Arab state has failed to deliver to people on many levels. And this is what people want. They want a new kind of a new social contract, a new state. They want a state that is capable, that is transparent, that is accountable. It is not a matter of a few $1 million here or there. The state now in the Arab world, most states, are captured by security people and by business people, or so-called really business people. And I think this has to come to an end. You need to have a modern state. Most of these governments also have failed for the last century, half century since independence, to actually integrate their societies. You have tribal societies, you have ethnic groups, you have all kinds of social divisions, and these governments have failed to integrate them. On the contrary, often they use these divisions to perpetuate their rule. So these are almost really dysfunctional states that we are talking about here.
Mohammed Fahad in Riyadh, do you think this was always going to happen? What Sharif has been saying to us about this sort of reform and this sort of problem that's been throughout the Arab world for so long, was it always going to happen at some point? Because we often look at it as Tunisia being the trigger for all of this happening.
Well, I'll tell you, in terms of level of grievances, is quite huge. I'll tell you about a meeting that has taken place two days ago inside the Ministry of Interior between the family of the detainees who are being held in prison for many, many years under the anti-terror measures that the government has taken for a decade now. What happened in that meeting, the families showed up between 300 and 400, and the argument was heated between them and the Assistant Minister of Interior, and they warned him. They delivered like ultimatum. We have been quiet for many, many years, and we cannot be quiet for long. So if you take the level of the grievances, it's quite huge. And these people are willing to take to the street. And not only that, we have young population who have similar demographic structure, like Tunisia and Egypt, with the level of deprivation of freedom and liberty from the rights for comfortable living. They could take to the street too, because they have nothing to lose. If they are unemployed, at least if they ever in prison, they could get food, and they get whatever. And this could happen unless certain immediate measures are taken, and people basically lost confidence. Before in 2004, several reformists delivered a petition asking for a constitutional monarchy, and all of them were thrown in prison. The government need to deliver, and it need to deliver soon, maybe now, rather than tomorrow. This is urgent. We have been hearing all these promises, but nothing substantial being offered on the table. We hope to see something that could soothe the people not to take to the street.
So it seems, gentlemen, you can all agree that money is perhaps not the issue here. There are greater forces at work. I do want to bring in another country, though, one where people broadly say this kind of uprising won't happen. However, it looks like, and this plays into what I was saying before, like Saudi Arabia's rulers might think differently. This week, King Abdullah announced $36 billion worth of extra benefits for his people, just part of a total of $400 billion by the end of 2014. The targeted areas are education, healthcare and the kingdom's infrastructure. Mohammed Fahad in Riyadh, let me come to you, seeing as you are there in Saudi Arabia. That to me looks like financial sweeteners. That to me looks like a leader who thinks he needs to appease his people financially to stop them from rising up.
Well, not at all. I'll tell you, it has been that way. They earmark a lot of money to healthcare, education, social services, but the final output is minimal. And I'll tell you, because most of government institutions are really dysfunctional in the sense it's riven with corruption, misusing money, and so on and so forth. And during this oil bonanza that we are living in right now, you see several examples of White Elephant projects where public finance is really funneled toward private accounts, and you don't know where it ends. So the cost of these projects are highly inflated. It doesn't really reflect the real cost. And guess what? Who are involved in these projects? Most of them are really highly, ranked individuals in the regime. And accountability is not there. Transparency is not there. People are completely disenfranchised in the system. If you are genuine in combating corruption, then you must bring people on board. You must allow an elected body where it will have check and balances in the government. But the status quo, no matter how many you are announcing, it will have little effect. And it has been the case in Saudi Arabia.
So, Adil Shamu, why do you think it is that King Abdullah has done something like this? Do you think maybe he's almost doing it just to be seen to be doing the right thing?
Well, I think it may help here and there, but the question is, would he allow the pillars and institutional infrastructure for free society and democratic society? For example, multi-party system, transparency, like my colleague said, free assembly, free newspapers. Would he do that? And more importantly, will he dismantle the security services which oppress the people and steps down on the integrity of the individual person in Saudi Arabia? Those are the things that the people are yearning to. They are not just yearning for financial gains.
Do you think they're yearning enough, Adil, to rise up like we've seen in other parts of the Arab world?
I think so. I think all the Arabs are really now at a point where they're